Good morning. Tina Mitchell here, your local mortgage expert and your host of Coffee with a Superstar. Okay, I know it's a little bit different than normally because Victoria's normally here behind the scenes. And all my notes are on my phone. My gosh. This is going to be just a really great Facebook Live. So Victoria, as you know, I've mentioned before, Victoria's behind the scenes and she's doing this, but she's on vacation, so I thought I would actually let her enjoy her vacation.
Victoria's the real superstar, we're learning.
Yeah, Victoria is definitely a superstar. You're the real superstar with Victoria. So my notes are over there, and it's actually okay because I don't need notes for this except for the bio. And so I'm going to let Sheri talk about herself. But first, before I do that, Sheri is our superstar today. I'm very excited to interview her. Sheri Putzke, she's here with Windermere in Kirkland. And as a reminder for my show is for real estate agents with real estate agents. I interview the best of the best in the industry so you can see what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I invite you behind the scenes to their office so you can be inspired by where all the magic happens. So Sheri, I'm actually going to let you say a little bit about yourself since as the host I don't have your bio in front of me.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Tina.
Yes.
Sheri Putzke with Windermere Real Estate. This is my 14th year in the business, and I've been with Windermere since 2009. And primarily serve the Greater East Side. I live in Kirkland, and a good portion of my business is in Kirkland, but obviously expand out, and certainly happy to help with all of the referral needs that take me a little bit further.
Yeah, and recognized as a top producer for many years in your career. Yes.
Yep, got into the business with new construction once I changed over to Windermere, and built my business that way, primarily with open houses actually.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'd actually love to talk about that, but I want to start out first with what do you credit your success to?
I would say tenacity.
Okay.
Tenacity and just I am a pleaser by nature. You know, it's really important to me that people are not only meeting their goals, but completely satisfied.
Yes.
And I think that if I accomplish that, that's ultimately what leads to referrals. But it's really important to me that people are beyond satisfied.
Yeah, and that's I think that's critically important in any industry is that you have your clients first, and what your goal is to make sure that they get the best possible service that you possibly can give. And I love the tenacity because if you look at any superstar, anybody that's doing great things in their market, no matter what industry that they're doing it with a lot of hard work. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's talk about the open house, and because you just mentioned here in the live Facebook that's kind of how you got started in the industry. And I think, especially for new people in the industry, but also for seasoned people, sometimes if you're not getting the results that you want in your business, you need to take a step back and see how to do things differently and how to get out there and attract more buyers in the market. So let's talk a little bit about the open house and how that got you started in the industry.
Sure. So when I switched over to Windermere, I kind of went from a part-time agent to a full-time agent. I got into the business originally, just backing up a little bit, because my husband is a builder, and when he bought out his business partner, his former partner's wife was also an agent, and that's when I got my license. But I just represented him. We had young kids at the time. They were home, and so finally when my youngest was in school full-time, I jumped over to Windermere and became part of an accountability group here in the office with like-minded agents at the same point in the career as I was in. And one of them was sitting site for a builder, and an opportunity came up to essentially sit open houses for the builder in their model home. And so I was given that opportunity, and I did that for many years. It's full-time essentially, and it's a little bit different than your typical resale open house, because rather than Saturday and Sunday 1 to 4, the hours can sometimes be 7 days a week and 10 to 6, so considerably longer. But it was, as a new agent, it was just a fantastic way to, for one, learn, especially from the ground up with regard to construction, and also just to meet clients. Obviously, my primary goal was to assist folks that came through in selling the product that I was representing, but also realizing that that's not going to be a perfect fit for everybody. And so if they weren't already working with an agent, it was a great opportunity to establish a relationship and a face-to-face relationship versus a Zillow lead or any of those paid opportunities that are much more challenging to convert.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're lucky the builder gave you that opportunity to be able to work with them outside of the site as well. And so if you hear Sheri here, first of all, one of the things that she said is she has surrounded herself around other agents that were looking at doing great things as well. So that's what this show is about. But it's to get you connected with the best of the best so that you can learn what they've already gone through to figure out the trials and the tribulations and to get through and to get where they've gotten in their business. So this space is open up for that reason. But I would also encourage for you to get involved in mastermind groups to where you're meeting and keeping each other accountable, as Sheri said. The other thing that I really like that Sheri said is she didn't say it in these words, but this is what I heard. She went to find where the business was at. So it was an opportunity that was introduced to her, but she took advantage of that opportunity. So you really need to focus your time where buyers are at. And so if what you're doing, if you're placing yourself somewhere to get in front of buyers and that is not presenting that opportunity, then you need to take a shift and find another avenue, because you have to go where they are at and build a plan and a process around that. Would you agree?
I would. And those longer open house hours, obviously, especially midweek, you didn't have a steady flow of people, and it was a great opportunity to prospect, to follow up, and check in with people that you had under contract. So you just use your time smart. And it was kind of a forced office time, which I think can be good for some people that don't have the discipline to set that time aside.
Yeah, you definitely have the accountability there as well.
Yep.
Yes. What about a challenge that you've experienced in your business, Sheri, and what was that challenge and how did you overcome it?
I couldn't say a specific challenge, just a general challenge as agents is the ins and outs of each transaction being so very different, and learning how to work with so many different personality styles. I mean, I found it to be almost like a psychologist. I think agents joke sometimes, right? But
marriage counselor.
Truly,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you are a problem solver.
Yes.
And you need to be able to solve a wide variety of problems and work with a lot of different personalities. We are in a very tech-heavy corridor here with our clientele base, and so a lot of times less verbal, more numbers, spreadsheets. The way that you deliver the information needs to be catered to your client. And just like in school, some people are visual and auditory learners. Trying to read the client, and it can be especially challenging sometimes when the husband and the wife are completely different in terms of how they take things in, or even in their opinions. Hopefully they agree, and sometimes it's just kind of finding that common ground with folks.
Well, and I love that, because that is a challenge in any industry, but especially when it comes to buying something as important as a home. And I think it's really, if you have not already done this, find a space where you can learn on the different personality types and how you're able to connect with them, because it's so important, as Sheri says, and when you're working with more than one, if you have a significant other purchasing together, they may definitely have different personalities, because different attracts, right? We kind of balance out that relationship. I'm a believer in facts and emotion both have to be able to be there. You have to be able to give the data to prove what you're saying, especially in real estate with what the market's doing, but you have to always also be able to connect with them emotionally through the storytelling. But if you can recognize that somebody connects more to the emotional and the storytelling, the facts can be very brief and to the point. When you're knowing you're working with more of an analytical, you're not going to leave the emotional side and the story side out, but that's going to be less, and it's going to be more based on the facts. And even if you're working with a significant other, a spouse or a partner, and you're sitting across from them with the information, you can talk to the analytic with the facts, looking at them, and then move over to the emotional side and the story. to where you're really connecting with both. Would you agree with that, Sheri?
Absolutely, and sometimes they throw you a curveball with other cultural differences that you need to be keenly aware of. And sometimes the parents are like, oh, well, we got to get the parents' opinion, and that's after you think that you're on the same page, and that can definitely throw a curveball.
Yeah.
So just being prepared for all of that.
So would you say then that your overcoming that is really preparing to get to know the different cultures, to learn different personality types, to adjust your presenting based on the ratios that you're getting on closing, to figure out what you're doing right and doing wrong? Would you say that that was how you've overcome it, or what would you say?
It definitely, especially with working with buyers, really understanding, a lot of times it's important to them, but they're not necessarily immediately conveying that. For example, sometimes the orientation of the home is a key buying component for an East Indian buyer, and but that doesn't come out from the get-go, and so it's just kind of learning to ask the right questions as
so
you
true.
continue
That
to
is
work
so
with
true.
people.
Because I think the questions they're templated questions. I mean, we know what we need to ask to get to the answers, and we know what they want to know. We just need to ask them the right questions to be able to tailor it towards their specific needs.
Right.
So very critically important in that process. And also as you're trying to get to know how you're connecting with your buyer and or seller, is just look at their facial expression. I mean, you're going to know if they're connecting, if their eyes are getting big, if you can see them smiling, it's like they're really connecting to your message. If they're, if they've got a certain look on their face, or they're slouching, or, they're back like this, then you know that you might need to kind of figure out in that moment how to adjust things. And if they've got a glaze on their eyes, you're probably boring them with too much analytical stuff, and you need to get more to the story and the connecting with them, correct?
Yes, and I think that brings up a great point, because so much of what we do is done online or via text.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have the opportunity for that face-to-face read on your client, I think that's another important component to bring up when you're sitting in a buyer consultation, is what is their preferred means of communication.
Such a great question.
Because some people don't like to text. Some people exclusively text. I have people that do Facebook Messenger versus text. And so, really understanding what people resonate with.
So important, yeah. So, Sheri, what would be a marketing tip that you would like to share with the agents that are listening to the show today?
Marketing tip. I would say something that's been really key for me is working and nurturing the database.
Yes.
And so I have just found that marketing dollars really are best spent on the people that know and trust you. And it's just a keeping in contact with your sphere.
Yeah.
The return is tenfold versus a mailer to somebody that doesn't know who you are, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If you really keep in touch, whether it's what I do quarterly mailers, I do monthly newsletters. Client appreciation event is something that I'll do my second annual one this year. Just really making sure that people know and remember and understand that you're still in the business and active and care about their investments.
Yeah, and isn't that so true, especially in the real estate space and the mortgage space? You see so many professionals working so hard to build that relationship, and then they completely forget about them, and they go on to move forward to cold business, trying to get new business instead of culturing the business that they already have and the relationships that they made. And so true, not to take away from, you might be killing it at internet leads, or killing it at social media and spending money to track those, which there's been a lot of legal changes in that platform in the recent, but whole nother conversation. So you may enjoy the chase, and if you're doing well, then that's great. But if you look at the statistics, and I don't have them memorized except for warm leads, warm business is a 50% conversion versus I think it's like a 5 or a 10 with cold business. So I don't know if you want to, those of you that know me, and I've got a link posted on the Facebook post as well. I have a coaching program, One Time Your Business. In the spirit of one-timing and being most efficient with your lead generation, why not work for the people? Just like Sheri said, you've already built that relationship, you already spent that time and that effort, and you've narrowed out the ones that really, really trust and you've earned their business. Why not spend your energy staying in contact with those people? And so you've mentioned your second annual client appreciation party. That is so great. What are other things that you do to stay in contact with your sphere and the clients that you've already helped?
So I do the party on an annual basis, and I've done a wine tasting with clients, and like I said, quarterly mailers, monthly newsletters, and then of course social media is really a key piece, and that can be a full-time job in and of itself. So having help with that has really been instrumental because it's time-consuming, but you know, it's interesting. You get so much more exposure than you even think based on the likes, because people will comment on something that they have seen, and again, it just reinforces what you do and that you're good at what you do. You know, posting client reviews. It's just where most people start their search. Even if I'm referred to somebody likely is going to hop online, Google my name, and they'll know pretty quick.
Exactly. And with some of the platforms like Facebook, it's really great with the algorithms to be able to stay in contact with people that you've already worked with, post and be interested in what they're putting out there, because those are your clients, and they're your clients today, they were your clients yesterday, and they will be your clients in the future as long as you stayed connected with them. So if you can have that balance of letting them know that you care about what they're doing, as well as Sheri stated, in staying in contact through the posts that you're making. And I always think having a mix of personal and professional is important, because that's what the social media platforms are for. When someone tells you need to be all professional on that, I disagree, because social media and what we want our clients to know to do is we want them to get to know us as a person. They want to know what we're doing behind the scenes as well, and know about our family and our life. And so I think that's a key part as well. So, Sheri, what would be a takeaway for an agent that's listening today and they really want to get their business and take it to the next level? What would be a call to action that you would give them?
I would say education is really a key piece. There's so many opportunities for us to learn, and as we all know, getting our license was not particularly helpful in terms of how we conduct our business.
Mortgage side either.
Okay, good. So you understand. I mean, and there's always an opportunity to learn. Our business is constantly changing and evolving. Nobody knows everything, and whether it's a class or a peer mentor group or a mastermind, I have just found those to be incredibly valuable. Just to collaborate, ask questions, and mastermind with like-minded people. So I would encourage everybody to participate in that. And then outside of that, just for meeting new people, joining groups and clubs of areas of interest to kind of expand your...
So true. Yeah, so true. So if you get with a group of people, again, a mastermind group where you can keep each other accountable, hear what's going on in the market. And education is a huge piece, and here's a few reasons why. Number one, you want to be educated in the market so you can share that with your buyers and sellers, obviously. You can use that as social media information as well, and staying in contact, because I think when you're staying in contact with people that you want to do business with, you should have that mix of value, education, a little bit of fun. So you have to provide platforms that you're providing value, whatever that looks like for you. You also have to be able to provide a platform that is educating them, which is Sheri's just talking about. And you have to provide a platform for them to have a little fun. She's talked about that as well, and the things that she does and having fun with her clients. But also what the education does is it builds your own confidence.
Sure.
And when you're having these conversations with your client, you're coming from a place of confidence that you are the expert, you know what's going to be your industry and challenges that you have to come up with. I really want to caution you to know that that's coming from the majority. The majority are not getting the results that you want. 80% might be doing 20% of the business, 20% doing 80% of the business, and the 1%, the best of the best that are killing it in the market. So that means you have 99% that actually are not the best of the best. So you want to surround yourself around the best of the best and listen to what they're hearing and close off all of that negative information or that negative conversation and chatter that you might be hearing about your industry. So would you agree with that, Sheri?
I would, and I think in this business, it's a funny business. A lot of times you work with people that you've never met with, never seen, and to just get out of your car, or get out of your home office and get into your office, and just kind of get into the vibe, into the flow. Can be helpful.
Yeah, make sure you stay in the positive flow though, and you stay away from the negative flow, because that is not going to serve you at any level that you want it to. So Sheri, and I don't have my phone because my phone's over there, but I've been actually looking at Sheri. The monitor had a clock and time, and then it went away. I'm like, oh my gosh! But I've been looking at Sheri's watch here. I keep looking down. Okay, we're good. Beautiful watch, by the way.
Thank you.
But as we're wrapping up our time here today, I would love for you to share, because we work really hard to be able to live the life that we want to live and to support the people we want to support, to give back to our community and all the things that we want to do. And I'd love to hear what's important to you outside of business.
That's a good question. I will be the first to admit that balance is probably one of my bigger challenges in this business. So there's not a huge life outside of work. But with that being said, I'm a mom. I've got 3 children, and obviously they are a key part of course, my life. Although they're getting older, one of the 3 is already out, and my last one will be a junior next year in high school. So just kind of really,
they don't need mom around them as much as they used to.
Yeah, now that they're all driving, I know. But just cherishing those last 2 years of them being at home. Exercise is huge for me. Mostly mental. It's just something that clears my head and resets. I go early in the morning. That's how I start my day. So that's kind of just a routine and a habit. And my husband and I have coffee together every morning. And
I love that.
Yeah, it's just something that we make time for, and kind of talk about the day ahead and plans and things that are upcoming. And we're also building a house at the moment, and so a lot of our productive conversation happens during that time
around
too.
that. Yeah. Well, I love that. And if you listen to, and thank you for sharing what's important to you outside of business, because I think that's important for people to hear, to know. I know you said you have a challenge with the balance, and majority of people do, but you did mention embracing your strengths around social media, and I think that's the key. There's 2 key things to having a balanced life, because you can have it in the real estate business. You can. You can have it in the mortgage space as well, which are 2 spaces that people think it's not possible. What you need to do is you have to have a high efficiency business model. So a call to action for my One Time Your Business 8-week burn. Join me. It's complimentary, 15 clock hours. If you need them for real estate agents, that is $99, but it's available for all business professionals, and I'd love to spend a powerful 8 weeks with you virtually in the spirit of one-timing your business and also embracing your strengths. And Sheri talked about social media and just how it can take a lot of time and hire that out. So if you really can do that, have a high efficiency business model and know how to embrace your strengths and hire out the weakness, you can have the balanced life that you're looking for and be very successful in business as well. I also want to give a shout out what you mentioned in your 2 things in your routine. She has a routine. It's around her health and her well-being, getting herself really focused and in a mindset to have a great day, which is so important. And then her husband that she loves, they have a cup of coffee every morning together and have a conversation. It's actually going to bring me to tears, because that is what's so important in life, is to make sure that you really are doing what's important. You're making the time. You may not feel that you have a completely balanced life right now, but you start out with things that are really important to have that balance in your life. And I believe that we're all in seasons, and some seasons we're more focused on work and other seasons we're more focused on our personal life. But balance is that you're enjoying both of those equally, even though one you might be spending a little more time in that season, which is completely fine. So, Sheri, you just gave me goosebumps. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here today, for the success that you have in the industry. Congratulations, and really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Of course. And thank you for being here today and for giving some forgiveness that things don't go perfect all the time. A shout out to Victoria, who's normally behind the scenes, that makes this seamlessly and effortlessly, which today was a little bit of a challenge, but that's okay.
We did it.
We did it. We rocked it. So thank you for being here, and I hope that you can join next week for my next superstar, and make it a great day. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.